let's talk a bit about your background from diplomat and spy to brain researcher and author, right? So I'm curious, how did your journey through such diverse roles shape your understanding of communication? For our audience, can you break down why asking is so powerful compared to telling?
Yes. You see, when you tell when you tell a person what to do, you take away their power.
How can someone develop better self control and interpersonal skills just by altering their own communication style?
When you know your communication style, as well as those of others, you can get your work done faster. So
Right.
if you were the boss, but if you read the first part of the book and you learn these different ways of how people process information, you can be a witch if you like.
So, folks, you have tuned into TGV and hearty welcome to the Guiding Voice podcast series, the world's only quadrilingual podcast at this moment of recording. And we are trying to embark into multiple languages as we speak. And here we embark on transformative conversations for a better future. And we want to simplify and amplify your journey to success. I'm your host, Navin Samala, dedicated to making the world a better place by bringing you wisdom through valuable discussions with experts designed to simplify and amplify your success. And thank you so much for tuning in. So, folks, we are joined by Dr. Diane Olvera. She is a seasoned international diplomat, spy, educator, brain researcher, and clinician with over 4 decades of experience. As the author of Ask, Don't Tell, and the upcoming The Power of Connection, Dr. Olvera offers revolutionary communication techniques that empower individuals through the transformative power of language. So, before we get started, Diane, here is a basic question. Why should somebody listen to our podcast today?
I am finding out that medical, psychological, educational, um, social, and even work-based people are telling me that the children and the adults coming up today are actually not self-aware. And even in the medical field, they're saying it's not just young adults, it's actually everyone is lacking self-awareness. And I have some really fun, easy techniques that one could use to just empower them to start to take on ownership of their own lives. And when they do that, their lives change. But this is really a very serious piece of information that I've been studying lately, and I think we need to take this into consideration for all of us because self-awareness will definitely improve our lives.
Excellent. So, folks, apart from self awareness, let us also learn the power of connection, transforming communication through the art of asking. Right? So, before we get into our conversation today, here is an exciting twist. As always, let us tickle our guest brain first. So, Dr. Diane, get ready for a rapid fire round of random words. I'll mention a few, and I would love to hear the first thing that comes to your mind in response without thinking much. If you're ready, let's get started.
Hello, I'm Steve Ahern, one of the judges of the Asia Podcast Awards. I'm interrupting this episode to let you know that you're listening to an award-winning podcast. This podcast won its category in the 2024 Podcast Awards, so you know you're listening to quality. Enjoy your listening experience, and congratulations to the team who created this award-winning podcast for you.
All right. My first word is curiosity.
Me.
All right. And then invention.
Cleverness to get through to all types of people.
Future.
Improve self-awareness.
Universe.
All people are valued.
Leadership.
Everyone has these skills.
Success.
try it. Just be self-aware and you will see success.
Life.
To live.
Aliens.
They could be here.
They could be listening to our podcast once it gets aired.
That's right.
Okay, and here comes the last one, book.
Book. Buy it.
And read it as well.
Please buy it and read it. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you can
Well,
use it from babies all the way to grandparents, and everyone will
yeah,
benefit.
yeah. Awesome, awesome. I loved all your responses, very creative. And Dr. Diane, thank you so much for participating in the first rapid fire rounds. And I really appreciate it. There is one more rapid fire round toward the end of the episode. So stay tuned. And first of all, hearty welcome to the Guiding Voice podcast series. How are you doing today?
Excellent. It's cold over here, but I'm feeling great. How are you feeling?
I'm doing wonderful. And we are on the verge of getting into monsoon season. At
Oh,
least in India, right now, the season is great. And yeah, life is as energetic as always. Thank you. And thank you once again for being part of our journey in shaping the careers and lives of millions across the globe. So, Dr. Dan, let's get started. Talk to us about who is your guiding voice.
God. I get my messages when I do my transcendental meditation practice.
Awesome, spot on. And talk to us about your success mantra, as in top three things that have contributed to your success so far.
Oh, I've been so blessed to have opportunities to experience diverse cultures and personalities as a diplomat and traveling around the world. The second, attaining 2 doctorates to study the brain and special education and cultural differences. Then I guess the third is to have first hand experience with brain research, college teaching, and family practice. And now hearing success stories from my past clients, because my work spans over 40 years, and it's really great to hear how little people that I worked with many years ago now have their own families and are being successful. So that's wonderful to know.
Awesome. I think there are many success stories and there are many lives that you have transformed, and great to know that. And now let's talk a bit about your background from diplomat and spy to brain researcher and author, right? So I'm curious, how did your journey through such diverse roles shape your understanding of communication?
I wanted to learn the power of language and how people use their words. I wanted to know how, when they use their body language, and how do they use their eyes to make their point. Because when I was a diplomat, I was impressed with the power that some of these people possessed. So I found the best way to learn was to dedicate some time and effort to studying and practicing, and then writing about my experiences, because it facilitated a lot of self awareness in myself, which actually improved my self confidence and resilience. And I saw the exact same thing happening with my students, clients, friends, and family. So it's just amazing how just simple little techniques or strategies that we do can turn people's lives around.
Hmm. Hmm. And your book, Ask, Don't Tell, right? It introduces a unique communication framework. So, for our audience, can you break down why asking is so powerful compared to telling?
Ah, yes. You see, when you tell a person what to do, you take away their power.
Hmm.
The brain learns from making mistakes. So if you don't have those opportunities, you go through life lacking that missing link. It's like crawling. When babies miss a certain developmental milestone, they have subsequent learning issues. And so,
Mhm.
when in everyday life, when we're not allowed to make those choices and learn from our experiences, we fail to develop self-awareness, which is a crucial aspect in life. And it's really essential in all areas, in medical, emotional, business, and educational context.
Got it. And also, how can changing our speech patterns actually strengthen or destroy relationships? Do you have any examples from your own experience that we can benefit from?
Yes, when I was a child, when my parents were younger, they would kid each other and say, "Oh, you're so stupid." But over time, those comments became very demeaning, and the relationship just went downhill. So after I got my second doctorate, my husband and son would kid me and say, "Oh, Dr. Olvera, you forgot something." Well, I remembered what happened to my parents, and I immediately said, "No, let's not go there. We have a happy family, and let's keep it this way. We don't need a demise."
Hmm. Hmm. Great. Thanks for sharing that. And what role does non-verbal communication, especially eye contact, or I think you call it as eye magic, right? How does this play in effective communication? And can it really be so powerful?
Hasn't your mother ever given you the eye? You know, those special moments when you should have done something. So, your eyes have a special form of magic that, when delivered with kindness and empathy, it helps you feel felt. However, when it's delivered with aggression or anger, it can make a person feel fear and rejection. So, whenever you use your eyes with someone, please be careful and use it with the appropriate intent.
Hmm. Okay, I think that's a great tip. And
Yeah.
also, Dr. Olvera, you have worked with people from various cultures and backgrounds. So I'm curious to understand, what are the common communication pitfalls that you have noticed, and how can we overcome them?
Yes. You know, the biggest downfall when welcoming a diplomat from the United States to any of the countries that we were at was that they hadn't done their homework beforehand.
Hmm.
And they would mention something that was not in that person's culture. Um, and and it was actually insulting, and it was a hard time, at least in your initial moments of stepping off an airplane, to recoup your, your real persona, because you stepped on that you stepped on yourself in a way, without realizing. There's another situation that happened, was a Hmong family. There was a group of children that came to the United States through a church group, and one night a child had fever, and the parents used cupping, cupping on
Yeah.
her back to relieve the fever. Well, the school didn't know what cupping was, and so the little girl was scratching her back, and the teacher looked and she saw some marks. And they immediately took her to the school nurse, and the school nurse said, "It looks like she's been beaten." So
No.
they were ready to call child services to
Mhm.
come in and take the child away from the family. And luckily, there was a man who worked at the school who saw this, and he stopped everything and he explained what was going on with the child. But that's a situation that's very, very dangerous. And if we
Yeah.
don't understand cultural differences and nuances, we can do great damage.
No, I think those are great examples. So definitely we have to do enough research. In fact, overstudy when you are visiting or trying to meet somebody from a different culture. So that's a great reminder. And with that, let's talk about your upcoming book, the Power of Connection. So you focus on understanding individual differences, right? So how can this knowledge uplift and empower individuals?
Yes, that's a great question. A matter of fact, the book is now published on Amazon, so you can get it anytime you'd like.
Mhm.
I use the first part of the book is a diagnostic part, and I'm teaching you to become the diagnostician. So,
Mm.
as the diagnostician, we can understand how different individuals process information. You can modify your interactions and understandings once you kind of understand how they think. For example, I use two terms, generalist and specialist, in my book, and it describes people who are either like a generalist who believes in the bottom line. Just give me the
Mm.
basic facts.
Right.
That's a generalist. But a specialist is someone who needs and who likes information, and they like to discuss all the details. But if you don't know that these people have different ways of processing, you can feel very uncomfortable around someone of a different type. For example, if you were in an office, a generalist may feel frustrated working with a specialist because they would get on each other's nerves. But imagine if you were the boss and you pointed out the beauty that each one had. So for the generalist, you would say, I love the basic ideas you come up with. Would you
Mhm.
please construct an outline for this wonderful presentation? And then the specialist would take pleasure in putting in all the details. And it also happens in social and marital situations. You know how marriages tend to break apart because they feel they don't get along. But if you just knew that your partner used a different way of thinking, then you can use each other, and not in a bad way, but you use each other for your assets. So the social person, the specialist would be able to check out. I want to build this kitchen, and the
Mhm.
specialist would love to put in all the details. So imagine how that marriage now comes together, rather than fighting and breaking apart.
Mhm. Yeah, that sounds interesting. And
Yeah.
let's move forward. And Dr. Olvera, how can someone develop better self control and interpersonal skills just by altering their own communication style?
When you know your communication style, as
Mhm.
well as those of others, you can get your work done faster. So
Right.
if you were the boss and you would communicate and you would know, I give the bottom line to this person, but I know that when I speak with this person, and it might be a client, might be a family member, I have to be more detailed. So you
Yeah.
can deliver your information based on how the brain accepts information and how they understand it. And everyone's happy.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Got it. And what is the most surprising thing that you have discovered about how language impacts the brain and our ability to connect with others?
Yes, since I've been studying the brain and how people
Mhm.
interact, I can modify my own interactions, and I can understand people based on the knowledge that I immediately get when I meet them. And so
Okay.
usually from my first interview with someone, um, they are surprised at how much I know about them. They
Mhm.
often will say, how do you know me when we just met? Or when I work with teenagers, they'll say, I think she's a witch. And I'm really not. But if you read the first part of the book and you learn these different ways of how people process information, you can be a witch if you like.
All right.
I'm
This
scaring everyone.
no, good one. And this has been an incredible conversation, and it's time for us to add some more spice and some more excitement to the episode, which
Oh boy.
means we have come to the second rapid fire round. So, if you're ready, let me fire the
Oh boy.
bullets. Okay. Okay. So, yeah, you're in safe hands. Don't worry. Okay. So, here comes the first bullet. If you could
I'm
have
praying,
one.
I'm praying.
So, if you could have one gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, what would it say?
Open your awareness. Success will be on your doorstep.
Wow. Wow. And if you are given the power to erase one harmful communication habit from everyone on earth, what would it be and why?
Oh, vocal tone. It sets the basis for your interpersonal success or failure.
Got it. And what is the most bizarre or unexpected lesson you learned during your time as a spy that applies to everyday communication?
Okay. Well, if one time I was accompanying and translating for the wife of a visiting high-ranking American diplomat, and as we went through the receiving line and shook hands with international dignitaries, she came to the head person and she looked directly at him and said, "Yo conozco su cama," and that means I know your bed. Now, his wife was standing right beside him, and she wasn't very amused by the comment. So luckily, I corrected her Spanish, and I told the dignitary, no, she means yo conozco su cara. I know your face. Luckily, we all had a good laugh. We could have been asked to leave the party quite quickly.
Okay. Okay. All right. So let's move to the next one. Your go to strategy to diffuse tension in a conversation.
Kindness, laughter, and eye contact. When you use eye contact in particular, people feel felt. And when you actually speak with them in kindness, even if they're angry with you, um, they actually can turn their whole conversation around with you.
Yeah. And can you name a cultural difference you find fascinating?
I find open conversations. When I first went to Argentina, I wasn't a diplomat. I was married to an Argentine. And when I interacted with his family and friends, they expressed their feelings directly to my face and not behind my back, which I was pretty much accustomed to in the United States. At first, I was really offended, but then I realized they were trying to help me fit in and not look like an ugly American. So ever since that time, that learning, I loved it because I felt like they actually cared for me and they weren't hiding anything about themselves or how they felt about anything. So that's another piece that I actually added to the book is to once you learn self-awareness, you become more self-confident. And when you're self-confident, you become more interactive. And you can have conversations that are positive and negative, and you won't feel so hurt because you know you have something of wealth inside you.
Yeah. Got it. And Dr. Olvera, can you describe yourself in just one word?
Fun. You should see my graduate classes. We have quite a lot.
All
I
right.
was
So
teaching.
that's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And here comes my last question for the second rapid fire round. If you could create a new universal communication rule, what would it be?
Open your perceptions to promote self-awareness and self-confidence. And then that all actually improves your ability to have leadership skills. So we would all become powerful in our own nations.
So thoughtful. Amazing. And let's flip back to the mainstream. And here comes my last question. So, what are some underrated communication habits that we overlook but can transform our life or transform our lives if practiced consistently?
Oh, this is so hard. Listen to others speak and look at them when they talk so they feel felt. This promotes interpersonal confidence and respect without requiring actually significant effort. It's actually really very easy, but it's something we forget to do.
Yeah. Yeah, so profound. And yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. Thank you so much for being part of our show and sharing amazing insights around the nuances of communication, self awareness, and all. And how is your experience being hosted on the Guiding Voice podcast?
Your questions were really thoughtful and purposeful, and very fitting for the title of your podcast, The Guiding Voice. Each one was very pointed into
Mhm.
finding deeper and deeper meaning within ourselves. And I appreciate that. And I congratulate you for your questions. I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Diane. And looking forward to hosting you again in future. And I wish you all the best. And I'm sure your book will become the bestseller. So good luck.
From your mouth to God's ears.
All right. So, friends, that was our episode with Dr. Diane Olvera. Before we jump into the fun trivia section, we have a quick request in case if you have enjoyed the conversation and found it useful. I request you to share with at least 3 of your friends or colleagues who would also like TGV, the guiding voice. So spread the knowledge and help others grow just like you. Now it's time for us to hop into the trivia segment. Having had amazing conversation with Dr. Dan on communication and self-awareness, I thought I would present you few more interesting facts related to communication and language. The first one is the power of tone. Studies show that tone of voice accounts for 38% of how we communicate, while words only make up 7% of the message, and the rest is body language.
Very good. Very good.
and yeah, and next fact is like multilingual benefits. People who speak more than one language, like me, like I speak Hindi, Telugu, and English, tend to have better cognitive flexibility and a lower risk of dementia as they age. They're also generally
That's
better at
true.
understanding different perspectives.
That's
And next fact is about mirror neurons. The human brain contains mirror neurons that help us empathize and understand other people's emotions, which is a critical tool in mastering interpersonal communication. Moving to the next one, the communication crisis. Studies show that we spend about 70% of our waking hours communicating. Yet, over 90% of misunderstandings occur due to poor listening rather than poor speaking. So, folks, if you remember, Dr. Diane also said the same thing:
Yes.
practice more listening, right, before you speak. So, these are the trivia points from my side. Likewise, if you are aware of any unknown and super powerful facts related to communication, do let me know. If you are watching this episode on YouTube, you can comment there, or if you found this on Spotify or any other audio platforms, you can comment there if the platform allows, or you can comment on social media platforms wherever you have found this episode. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in and also for being part of our awesome TGV family. So, folks, until next time, take care, stay inspired, and remember, the best is yet to come. Goodbye for now. See you all in the next episode with another amazing guest. Take care. Love you all. Bye bye.